And here we are, Master's Path. We are flute ready. If you're not flute ready, pause. Go grab your flute, come right back. Okay. Walk through pace 2 times. Again, 1, 2, 3, kick. 4, turn. 5, shove. 6, row. Under. Under. Over. Over. Row. Shove. Helicopter. Up and over. Unwind. Row. Shove. Turn. Strike. Up and over. Unwind and row. Shove. Turn. Strike. Around. Turn and strike. Back. And 1. To the left. 2. Low to the right. 3. Low to the left. 4. High to the right. 1. High to the left. 2. Low to the right. 3. Low to the left. 4. 6. Turn. Step. Step. Back. That's the fairly even walk-through pace. We'll do that again. At the end of class, we'll go faster for those who wish to. 1, strike. 2, push. 3, kick. 4, hop, turn, strike. 5, shove. 6, row. 7, under. 8, under. 9, over. 10, over. 1, row. 2, shove. 3, helicopter. 4, up and over. 5, unwind and row. 6, shove. 7, turn and strike. 8, up and over. 9, unwind and row. 10, shove. 1, turn and strike. 2, around. 3, turn and strike. Dropping the numbers, set up. And 1, don't drop the numbers, we'll pick them up again. High to the left, strike. Low to the right, strike. Low to the left, strike. That's first 4, here's the last 4. High to the right, strike. High to the left, strike. Low to the right, strike. Low to the left, strike. Sink to the left. Turn to the right, tip it on the right, lift the left knee, step left, right. Step left, right. Bow. All right. So while that wasn't fast, it didn't have a lot of breaks either. So if you got lost because there wasn't the stop at the end of each move, I'm sorry, I don't want you to feel lost. But that's more how to get flow with it and to go faster. So maybe at the end we'll do one with stops for those of you who want that, and then a fast one. But before that, let's take a close look at, well, how about that last move? I think that's what happened in day class. So let's do it again. It is exactly where we are in the sequence. So let's take another look at it. This is assuming you've successfully done the highs and the lows. Like that. Here you are, hands. It's just finishing the last low one from the left as your starting position for this move at the end. So yeah, left leg has more weight than the right. Ball of the foot, the heel is up on the right, you could say. Bamboo step, remember those. Left hand still in prayer position, and if you want context, the flute came low up to the left shoulder and struck to the temple like it always does. Broken down, this will be fluid, but the broken down version is I sink to my left, pointing the back end of the flute down and back to my left. It kind of comes together. So here I am, and then my center goes that way, and then the flute goes that way too. And then my left hand, you might see it connect sometimes. It can just be in prayer position. Doesn't really matter. From here, it it's going to flip over the other way. So if I think of it going down to the left, I'm going to flip it over, so now it's going to be circling horizontally almost to the right. So I'm going to again lead with that back end of the flute. I'm going to start pivoting on the right ball of the foot. Going to keep pivoting on the right ball of the foot, pick up the left knee, and you'll have this sort of pause where both arms are out and the left knee is up. Then you'll step with the left, and as you're stepping with the right, you poke or stab in front, and that's where you do the trade-off. And then step back with the left, circle it back, step even and bow. Okay, let's do that 2 more times, broken down together, and then we'll get all analytical on it. So here we go. From the left, boom. Say boom if it helps. Sink pointing the back end of the stick of the flute, pardon me, down to your left. Flip it, because you're going the other way now. Lead with the back end to your right, pivot on the right ball of the foot. Keep pivoting on the right ball of the foot, pick the left knee up, step left, right, poke, let go of the right hand, flip, down. Once more. Sink to the left. Flip it, pivot to the right. Keep pivoting to the right. Pick up the left knee, step left, right, step left, right. Okay. It's hard with the moves that turn around. It's hard enough with the moves that turn around in class, where you can at least see it from different sides, right? Different flashes of it as you turn. So let's do this. I'm gonna face you and do it more fluidly without sort of the learning breakdown. Hopefully I won't have too much of a fight with the safety floor. So yeah, from the other side first. So imagine you were watching from the front. Try not to do it along with me. There's that last strike. Again from that side. So yeah, not a stop really. It's pretty fluid from when I start leading down to when I flip it and come around. This one usually takes a couple classes to get. I think it's mainly because it's a turning move and because it's a little counterintuitive leading with the back of the flute both ways. So if you can literally think of following the back of the flute and leading the way with the back of the flute, that might help you. So I'll do it facing towards the camera if it was coming at you. Yeah, here was a low from the right, here's that last low from the left, here's where we started. So back end is sinking and coming down here. It's gonna flip and lead around here. Right. Let's see, what else to say? One thing is when we learn it in the classroom, we have some sort of special steps to get around on the safety floor. Namely, we start, I don't know what the name is really, but what we do is we start pivoting on the right ball of the foot, even though most of our weight's still on the left. And when I get to about here, I can't go any farther without this knee coming in. So here's where I'll actually commit to the turn, but you'll notice it's less than 180 degrees now. I don't know if you can see that, but I pivoted enough that I have less than 180 degrees to go for the end of the move. On a softer floor or barefoot out in the grass or something, I don't know, you probably wouldn't have to do that. You would load up and just go. And I can kind of get it, but maybe you could hear on the mic my shoe getting left behind and pulling and tearing a little bit. So, just that wasn't clear, on this floor we have the special instructions of sink on the left, start to pivot without committing your weight until you have less of a turn, then commit your weight, pick up the knee, and then step left, right. On a softer, less frictionful, probably not a word, on a surface with less friction, I might just sink and then go. Oh, you know what, another question. Does that make sense? You can pause and rewind it if you thought another time would help. Or if not, let me know what didn't make sense and I'll try to clear it up. The other thing that I see troublesome students is that pause moment, other knee, but that pause moment before you come forward. And when I'm learning it, when you're learning it, it seems like a long time. Because you're here, you're around. And really it's just long enough to get my balance, to make sure I'm not still turning. Like I've stopped my momentum around and I have my balance. And if you're going fluidly, it'll be just a beat and you'll already be into the next part. So I think you probably saw it already, but here, if I'm really doing it, it almost doesn't look like a stop. But there is that moment of getting your balance before you come forward into the next part, and the arm out helps that. Both arms out help that. From another angle. And let's see. I know there's one other thing I don't want to overload, but I guess it's recorded, so if it's overloaded, then just cut the end off. I don't know. And that's how to stop right there. So on this, it'll be a matter of being light and then being heavy. Like, I don't have a lot of experience with this personally, but there's the idea that if you're trying to carry a child and they don't want to be carried, they can kind of flop and make themselves, it seems heavier, but really it's just harder to manage the different parts of the weight. They don't really make themselves heavier, right? Whereas if you've done the light as a feather, stiff as a board or whatever, it's very easy to manipulate someone's weight if they're rigid. This is too big of a lecture to start with a few minutes left in class, but if you can think of coming around being light, and then at this point, feeling heavy, part of it will be just sinking your weight into your foot to try to stop, but it's also a whole body attitude, we'll call it. So that was a little jumbled. I hope that made sense. If not, ask a pointed question and I will clear it up as best I can. So let's practice that last move a couple more times. I said we might do a fast run through the whole thing. We don't really have time unless it's real fast. So let's just do that last move a couple more times and we'll bow on Master's Path. Here we are. Sink to the left, turn to the right, keep turning to the right. Step with the left, step with the right. Step with the left, step with the right, bow. Let's reset. Begin. I know what I forgot to mention. I started to talk about it, but let the arm with the flute help you get around. That swing of the arm gives you a lot of momentum if you practice connecting it. So one more time together. If you don't get that this time, we'll work on it again. See it? There it is. I guess you couldn't see it. You would have been facing away from the screen unless you saw it over your shoulder. Okay, any other questions, comments, suggestions about that or any other flute form move? Send it in. And I'll check the Facebook group. I'm not normally on it, Facebook in general, that much, but I'll check the group and see if there's any questions that were missed or maybe confer with my teammates. Does that sound professional? Okay. Master's Path dismissed for beginners.